Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Christy Lynn and today we're going to be talking all about my daily routine for my 6-month-old baby Evelyn. So right around 3 months old she started settling into her own routine, but now that we have made it to 6 months we have really settled into a consistent routine. I don't put her on any sort of rigid schedule, we just have a very flexible routine, but this routine has sort of happened naturally, and the way it is now is basically every single day is almost exactly the same. So it has kind of turned into its own schedule, which is really amazing because it means I know what each day is going to look like. So if you have a newborn, you know the challenge of just the unpredictability and not knowing what each day is going to look like. So it's really nice now that we're here at 6 months that I do know what my days look like. So I want to talk to you about what our days do look like in case you're coming up on that 6-month mark with your baby, or you're looking for some ideas for your baby's day and how you want to kind of structure your day. So although I said we don't have a strict routine or a strict schedule, what I did do was I followed age appropriate wake windows for her. So I looked up how long my baby should be awake for during the day and in between naps based on her age, and then every time she turns another month old I kind of adjust that a little bit. So anyways, all that to say, let's go ahead and get started with my baby's 6-month daily routine. So every day we start the day off right around 6 in the morning. That's when she naturally wakes up. She wakes up sometimes a little bit before 6 in the morning, but I'm trying to inch that towards 6 a.m. We did struggle with some early morning wakings, but I think we've got them resolved now. And if so, I'm going to wait it out a little longer to make sure we've resolved them, but if so, I will be making a video on how we resolved our early morning wakings because those can be really tough to get past. Anyways, normally she'll wake up right around 6 a.m. That's when we start our day, and then from that time until her first nap, we go 3 hours. So 9 o'clock comes around and that's when I put her down for her first nap. We just have a very simple nap routine. I've talked about this in another video. I'll link it in the cards above. But we just have a very simple nap routine. You know, I change her diaper, I read her a book, we sing, or I sing. We don't sing. I sing, and then I put her down, turn on her sound machine, put her in her sleep sack, give her her pacifier. Very simple, but very necessary for us to help trigger that sleep drive. And usually she never fights her naps. So as long as we have our wake windows right and we're following a routine, a nap time routine, then we're good to go. Anyways, that is the first nap of the day, and that typically lasts 1.5 hours. She basically takes 1.5 hour naps all the time consistently, which is really amazing. Okay, so she wakes up an hour and a half later usually, and then we stay awake another 3.5 hours this time. So that puts us right about 2 p.m. and this is her second and final nap of the day. We are down to 2 naps now, and I'm going to talk a bit more about that later on in the video. So for the last nap of the day, do the same nap routine, put her down, and she does sleep another hour and a half. So she does really well sleeping about 3 hours total for the day, and I found that that's sort of her sweet spot. If she sleeps more than that, then she doesn't do well in the night sometimes. So she might either struggle going to sleep. She either struggles falling asleep, or she'll wake up extra early in the morning if she sleeps too much during the day. And that's just because babies have an amount of time they're supposed to get of sleep in a 24-hour period. So if they're getting too much of that during the day, then they're going to sleep less at night. So anyways, we figured out that that's the sweet spot right around 3 hours a day. Then at 6:15 I start her bedtime routine. I need about 45 minutes to do everything for her bedtime routine in order to get her in bed on time. So 6:15 we start by giving her a bath, and then after that I will feed her. I will put her PJs on if I haven't already, and then read her a book, kind of the same as the nap time routine, just a little bit extended. And then, yeah, turn on her sound machine, and then we'll usually pray, sing a song, and I will kiss her goodnight and put her in her sleep sack, all that stuff, and leave the room. And 99% of the time, she never fights it. She just rolls over into a comfortable position and she's out. And this, I have talked about in other videos how we got to this point, but it really comes down to making sure you're following those age-appropriate wake windows, because you want them to be tired but not too tired. So it can be really frustrating and confusing at first, but you get better at it. And so you have to reassess every month if you need to adjust those wake windows, but as long as you're kind of keeping up with the age-appropriate wake window, then you should be good. So then by the time I lay her down in bed, it's about 7 p.m. That's what we aim for a bedtime, 7 p.m. So she will sleep from about 7 p.m. until about 6 in the morning. And she sleeps solid through the night. We don't do any night feedings or anything. She sleeps all the way through the night. So that's amazing. I feel very blessed to have a baby that sleeps through the night at this point, because if you follow along, I've probably talked about this in some of my older videos, but she was a very, very difficult sleeper. So I'm very proud of her. I'm very proud of where we've come. I never thought in the thick of it that we would be here at 6 months. So very grateful. Okay, so now I just want to kind of talk about, obviously through the day we don't just sleep, but there's other things she does. So I just want to talk about those things, talk about some additional information. So for her wake window, those periods where she's awake in between her naps and in between her last nap and bedtime, we fill that with a rotation of activities. When she loses interest with one thing, we'll move on to the next. But usually it's pretty simple. We spend time playing under her play gym. I will put her in her little activity center and she'll play there for a while. She loves playing little music on the piano and that, and just jumping around. I'll put her down on the floor to practice crawling. She's not crawling yet. She's actually very frustrated that she can't crawl, so I try to give her a lot of tummy time on the hard floor so she can kind of slide around. I put her in just a onesie so that she can move around easier. And then when she gets bored of all of that, we'll walk through the house, we'll look at the dog. I'll usually call the dog over. He doesn't care too much about her, but she adores him more than anything, I think. So if she's fussy, I'll call him over and make him sit near us, because she'll just laugh at him for some reason. She thinks he's hilarious. And we'll look at different objects in the house, talk about them, touch them, feel them, all of that good stuff. And then if I need a break, I will set her down in her swing and she will give me a solid 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes longer, in the swing, just occupying herself, playing, looking at the trees through the window, whatever. So if I just need to give myself a little break to sit down and not have to carry her around and entertain her, that is always a good go-to. Plus, she's actually very good at entertaining herself now and playing independently. So like under her play gym, I'll lay her down and she'll play there for a while. I'll usually sit on the chair in there and do whatever I want to do, research on my phone usually, and then, or on her activity center too. So she's pretty good at this point of playing independently. I don't have to constantly entertain her. And then I wanted to touch on feeding. We currently feed every 2 hours or more. I found that works best for us. That's when she's always hungry, and that helps her to not really be fussy too much, unless she's like getting tired or whatever. But I found that if we feed her about every 2 hours, she really is very good. She doesn't really have meltdowns or anything like that, very rarely. You know, we can kind of plan our outings around that too, so that when we're out, she never really has a meltdown, because she's always fed, she's always slept within this routine, so she's always a pretty happy baby. I mean, she has her days of fussy times, you know, if she's teething or she is going through a leap or a growth spurt or whatever. Obviously babies have their days. So, but in general, she's very, very content baby, I think, at this point on this routine. And then about feeding, if we're kind of coming up on time for a nap and she hasn't eaten in a while, like an hour, it hasn't been 2 hours, but I know it's been an hour, and I'm like, I realize she's probably not going to make it through her whole 1.5 hour nap without getting hungry. So she will wake up early from her nap if I don't feed her before her nap, if it's been a little while since she last ate. So that's why I say I feed her every 2 hours or more. Lots of times it's on the more side because I don't want her to wake up early from her nap. So I will kind of top her off and then she's good to go. Also, when I'm talking about feeding, I'm talking about nursing. I'm not talking about solids. So your baby at 6 months may already be on solids, but for us, she's not quite there yet. We are introducing them now, but she's not too interested. I'm actually waiting for, we've been trying out a few different high chairs. I'm waiting for her high chair to arrive to really get into the solids, but I think she's going to do a lot better with like finger foods, like baby-led weaning. So we're going to do a mix, I think, of purees and baby-led weaning because she basically gags at everything I bring to her mouth if she's not holding her herself and feeding herself. That's what I found. So we're going to just do a mix of both, I think, and just go from there. But at this time, she is not doing solids yet. So our routine will definitely change as far as feeding goes as the months go on and she starts getting into solids. But yeah, I just wanted to address that in case that might be different with your baby, because I know a lot of babies start solids around 4 to 6 months. Okay, so then I wanted to touch on why we went from 3 naps to 2 naps, because I know this time 6 months is very common. Babies are still on 3 naps a day or maybe even 4. So for us, I started to notice we had her naps down, her routine down very good when she was 5 months. But then she started fighting her naps again, and now I've learned that's always a good indicator that it might be time to revisit those wake windows and start looking at extending them. And like I said, you want to look at extending them about once a month, a little bit, even if it's only by 15 minutes. So the issue we're having is she was taking such good, amazing naps. She was taking 1.5 to 2 hour naps throughout the day. So by the time we got to that 3rd nap, it was getting really close to bedtime. And so it was always conflicting with bedtime, and it was always making that last wake window really short, and then she was struggling to fall asleep at night. So then she was fighting going to bed. So then, of course, she was also fighting that 3rd nap of the day because I was trying to fit it between the 2nd nap and bedtime somewhere in the middle, and it wasn't, quite right with her wake windows. So she was really fighting that 3rd nap, and sometimes wouldn't take it at all. So I started over a period of about 2 weeks extending her wake windows again, and we went from about 2 hours in the morning to now her first wake window is 3 hours, and then so on throughout the day. And then her last wake window used to be only about 3 hours, and now we've got it to 4. And that has just worked so much better. We dropped the 3rd nap once we got there, and now she's in a really sweet spot with just 2 naps, and her wake windows are perfectly spaced throughout the day. And then I'm not going to go into too much detail in this video. Like I said, I'll probably make another video about early morning wakings, but I do think going to that 3 to 4 hour wake window is what was probably had the biggest impact on early mornings and resolving them. At least it seems so far. For the last week or so, she's done a lot better. But anyways, I hope this was helpful, and if you have a 6-month-old, let me know in the comments what your routine is like. Is it different? I'd love to hear what your baby's routine is like, maybe get some ideas from you. If this was helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I hope you'll subscribe if you're new, and I will see you really soon in my next video.